So you've decided to sell your home and you want to do it yourself. That's exciting, and you'll want to be prepared to complete the sale once the right buyer comes along. There are a few important documents that you will need to understand to help you with securing the deal. Today, we will go over the first and most important documents involved in selling your home: the offer to purchase and the contract for sale. By putting the deal in writing, you make it enforceable, and therefore it's important to get it done right. First, let's go over the offer to purchase. This form isn't used in every sale, but it can be useful in some situations. It essentially is an invitation to enter into a full-scale purchase agreement or contract. Buyers will use one to show the seller that they have definite interest in the property, and the goal is to reach an acceptable agreement between the buyer and the seller. The offer to purchase identifies the property and the price. The property will be described with an exact address, its legal description, and the name of the owner of record. The price, including down payment, will be stated also. Then the main terms of the deal are laid out. That would include things like the timeline for the deal to close, the inspections desired and their timelines, whether an appraisal will happen, any other contingencies the buyer wants included. The offer to purchase isn't available to the seller indefinitely. It should include a timeline for a response from the seller, but it's a good idea for it to be a reasonable timeline so the seller might be motivated to deal with the buyer. In some market situations, the buyer doesn't have time to start with an offer to purchase. Instead, in most sales, the buyer will make an offer by presenting the seller with a contract containing all the terms of the deal. If the buyer and the seller start with just talking about a deal, a contract should be drawn up in writing. By law, an agreement to sell real estate is not enforceable if it is not in writing and signed by all the parties. So the contract becomes the central legal document that memorializes the agreement. Let's go over briefly what should be in the contract. Obviously, the names of the buyer and the seller and an accurate description of the property need to be stated. You should detail anything that is supposed to remain with the property, since we are usually talking about more than just the dirt in the ground, and the things to be removed from the property. It's super important that the purchase price, earnest money to hold the deal, the date the sale will be closed or completed, and details of any contingencies that would excuse the parties from completing the sale all be included in the contract. Here are some of the most common contingencies: securing financing of a certain amount and type, inspections of the home by professionals to identify non-cosmetic issues and a discussion of how repairs should be handled, appraisal of the property to make sure it's worth the purchase price, and wood-destroying insect inspections to make sure the structure isn't infested with insects such as termites that can cause serious damage. In addition to contingencies, it is wise for the contract to talk about what happens when one party defaults or breaks the agreement, how expenses for the property, such as taxes or homeowners association dues, would be split or prorated. What happens if there is a loss from a casualty like a fire or storm, and that there are no side agreements between the parties, either verbal or written. Everything must be in writing, and only the things in writing will be the agreement. This helps avoid disagreements after closing the deal. Everyone that is part of the deal needs to sign the contract. That means all owners of the property and all buyers who want to become owners of the property. The contract provides the framework on how the sale will be completed from beginning to end. Without one, there'd be lots of unnecessary disputes, omissions, and misunderstandings. Come back again when we will discuss the other forms you'll need to get ready when selling your home, specifically the disclosures you will need to give a potential purchaser.